Hello, I'm Claire, and in today's video we're going to be diving into something fun that any knitter that enjoys working with texture is going to enjoy. I'm going to be walking you through my top 5 knitting stitches that I've used in my design so far, and I'm going to be showing you why they all made the cut. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. The first stitch I want to talk about with you is the one that I used in what I'm wearing. This is my Palover. I designed it for Woolfolk a few years ago, and it features a beautiful broken rib texture all over. I love this texture because it gives a really good background. It gives a lovely kind of overall texture to the fabric without being too fancy. It still has a kind of wearable, kind of basic feel to the fabric, which makes it really easy to style, but it feels extra special because of that texture. In the sample that I'm currently wearing, I actually held up my hair together with a lace weight yarn to create the fabric that I wanted, and what I really like about that is it has a kind of marl effect because of the difference between the colours of the two yarns that I use. And this stitch works really well with the marl. It's not impacted by the marl. In fact, it only brings it out. So it's a very sort of wearable, usable stitch that works on so many different things. And in fact, it's something that I turn to over and over again in my designs after this point. Next up, I want to talk about my RoH hat, which was in fact the very first design that I ever published. So you can see here it has an all over travelling cable. I found this stitch in a ready to wear garment. It was actually a men's ready to wear garment. And if I remember rightly, it was very chunky. And I thought, oh, that is such a beautiful stitch. I love the way that it travels across the fabric. It's got those areas of, you know, dense cabling, and then it spreads out and it has these rib sections, a mixture of kind of stockinette and reverse stockinette. It's a beautiful stitch. Now what I will say is that the stitch was very large to use in a hat, which made grading a bit problematic, and it's something I've learnt from since then. But that being said, I still adore this stitch, and it had to make my top 5. Another stitch that I absolutely loved using was the one, or the ones, that I used in my Tarragon sweater. Again, it's a travelling stitch, or shall we say a travelling stitch panel. There's 2 panels across the body, and they travel outwards towards the shoulders. And you can see here I've got a mixture of garter stitch, I've got some eyelets in there, some kind of ribbed bands, and brought together as a sort of whole, it creates this really beautiful, simple but effective textural panel that works outwards towards the shoulders. And this is such a wearable piece. Now, before we move on to my final 2 favourite stitches that I've ever used in my designs, I would like you to share with me your favourite stitch that you have ever knitted in a design. Whether it's your design or someone else's design, which pattern have you knitted that you absolutely adored the stitch? Let me know in the comments. I'll be there furiously Googling all of the patterns that you share. It's always nice to have new patterns to add to my Ravelry queue. Next up, we've got Split Stone, which was my very first sweater that I ever published. Now, on the Split Stone pullover, we have these really beautiful textured side sections that kind of go inwards towards where the side seam would be, even though it's knitted seamlessly. And what I love about this is it's extremely geometric. It's really, really graphic. But it uses knits and pearls to create that really graphic feel. So it has an element of subtlety to it. I need to make another one of these because I really, really love this pullover. This colour is maybe not a colour I would choose today, so I don't reach for this sample very often, but yeah, I absolutely love the effect of that. And what inspired this, I actually saw, I want to say, a graphic pattern on Pinterest, and it was just a black and white pattern, extremely bold, and I thought that is a pattern I would love to translate into a stitch, and so I played around with some options and this is what I came up with. and I adore the result. And I mean, it's been years since I released this. I think it was 2017 when I released this, and I just still love this stitch. So yeah, nice and graphic and clean, and definitely something I need to revisit. The final stitch that I want to share with you today is one that I used in my parsley tank, or you could call it a slipover. I don't think we were using slipovers back then when I released this. But either way, it's parsley, my own design, as have all of these been my own designs. And it's a lovely travelling kind of faux cable that goes up the side panel. It uses twisted stitches, and those twisted stitches move, and I introduce new stitches using yarn overs to create this kind of eyelet effect, and I just feel like the result is really beautiful. It's a very addictive stitch, shall we say. It's like one of those stitches that you just want to keep on knitting and move on to the next repeat. So those are my favourite 5 stitches that I've ever used in my design so far. Now, as you can see from my background, we have many more stitches in the works, and I cannot wait to share these upcoming designs with you. Now, if you're a designer, I would love to encourage you to either drop, name drop your patterns in the comment section below, sharing your personal favourite stitches that you've designed with, or I want to encourage you, if you haven't explored stitch, especially stitch design where you're coming up with things yourself, I really want to encourage you to explore that in your upcoming designs. There is so much pleasure and satisfaction that can come from not only working with texture and stitch, but also coming up with it yourself. It's just an undeniable pleasure. So I encourage you to do that. If any of these patterns took your fancy and you'd like to learn more about them and potentially buy a copy for yourself, the links to buy them are in the description box, including Ravelry links as well as links out to my website. And if you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to like and subscribe. That tells YouTube that you enjoyed the video and it will continue to show up in your feed. And of course, if you really like the video, you always have the option to click the bell notification button, and you'll get a notification whenever I release a new video about knitting pattern design, teaching you how to design your own knitting patterns. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye.